Well, I had switched away from the butt because we were all together, so I had to switch it back to the butt.
Oh, yeah. Gotta stay on the butt.
Yep.
Hello, and welcome to Spooky Sips, where we put our love of horror movies into a podcast and sip some spirits along the way. I'm one of your hosts, Yvette, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Laura and Brianna.
Hello.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving, spooky sippers.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving.
We hope that you're going to have a wonderful holiday today and not like the one in the movie that we just watched. We got to go to the theaters this time for y'all, and we saw the 2023 movie Thanksgiving with Patrick Dempsey, of course.
Yes.
This movie it's about an axe-wielding maniac who terrorizes the residents of Plymouth, Massachusetts after a Black Friday riot ends in tragedy. Picking off victims one by one, the seemingly random revenge killings soon become part of a larger, more sinister plan. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
This movie.
Okay. I have to say, before I know we'll get into our opinions and our feelings on it, but I don't feel like there has been a slasher like this, like Scream essence slasher in forever.
Mhm.
And I absolutely soaked up every minute of it. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yes. I didn't really know what to expect going into it. The only info that I knew was it's a Thanksgiving movie. Eli Roth directed it, and he also did Hostel. And because of that, I was terrified because I watched Hostel way too young. And it's like one of those where I haven't rewatched the movie because it was terrifying to me. So when I saw that it was him, I was like, this is going to be like the most troubling movie. I was not looking forward to it. But going into it blind, so I went into it with kind of low expectations in that I thought it would not be my style. But I loved it. It was fun. It was a fun movie.
It was so much fun.
It was so fun. Yeah, I went into it only knowing that it was about Thanksgiving and that McDreamy is in it.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Dempsey, who I apparently am just, boy crazy on this podcast because I know I've talked about crushes, but Patrick Dempsey is my really legit
Sexiest man.
I know, he just got Sexiest Man.
Oh, he's been sexiest man in my heart since Can't Buy Me Love. Have you guys ever seen that movie?
No.
Yes.
It's when he's a babyface McBaby and he's so cute.
We do have to talk about Sexiest Man because how is this his first year getting it?
I know. I wondered the same thing when I saw that. I was like, I had to go look it up because I was like, that's not true.
Yeah.
Like, he probably got it when he was on Grey's, and
he got it again. Man. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
So
well deserved. I'm glad he finally got his recognition.
Yes. Yes.
Probably because of this movie.
Yeah.
That's so funny, right? To have like Sexiest Man in this like slasher, like Thanksgiving movie. I don't know.
Yeah.
I love the combo.
Love it. Love it.
So I have to say, I love the most recent like movie theater experiences I've had for this podcast. Like when we saw Friday the 13th, I loved.
Yeah.
And I feel like this one was also really good. There were only a couple of other people in the theater with us.
Yeah.
And I could not contain myself. I kept screaming out loud, like gasping or jumping or being like, shit. And I literally almost vomited at one point because I was like, that is the most disgusting gore I have seen.
Yeah.
It
You
was
almost
amazing.
vomited. And I like how you turned toward me.
I did.
Like, I just vomited.
I know. I was like leaning on Laura being like, I'm going to throw up.
You could have turned the other way.
Oh my God. No, this movie, it got so many reactions. Like, I gasped so many, like audible,
Same.
I had like popcorn that I kept using because I can't do gore. Like, I can't do gore. So I had like my popcorn that I was just holding in front of my face in order to look away.
No, Yvette, did you go see this by yourself?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, shit. I feel like mad props.
Yeah.
That's brave.
I was in a full theater.
Okay.
This was like a packed theater, which is wild because I left because I was like, I'll just buy the ticket there because when I checked, it was empty.
Yeah.
Like 45 minutes before the movie started, the theater was empty. So I was like, I'll just go buy it there. Why not? And when I showed up, I kid you not, there were 5 seats left.
Wow.
So It was a full theater, which I think made it way more fun.
I mean,
except very rowdy teenagers were mildly annoying.
Yeah.
As soon as they walked in, and like, I swear there were like 15 of them. I was like, okay, y'all are going to talk the entire time.
Yeah.
See, we, because I get out of work so early because, you know, high school, we went at, actually it was like 4:40, I think is when we went. So 4:40 on a Friday, I wasn't sure like what the crowd was going to be. But there was, I think it was just a single guy in front of us. And then there was these women that were maybe like 15 years older than us behind us. And they were just like, I was like, Brianna, that's us in a few years. But yeah, everybody was really pretty well behaved. So we got lucky.
Yeah. I mean, something about these types of movies, I think, just kind of attract a kind of rowdier crowd. And like you're going to get reactions out of people, and people go into the movie expecting to do it. So it's kind of part of the experience.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, should we just start right at the beginning?
I'm so ready.
I think I got all the deaths.
Oh, okay. I tried.
We'll see. We can compare notes. I mean, we are recording on the 18th. This came out yesterday.
Yes.
Yep.
So there's not a lot of like, I don't think a lot of people online have tracked all the deaths and everything yet. So this is just from my memory.
Okay. And I wrote down some.
Yes.
But we'll see if we can compare if we're the same or not. So at a certain point I kind of gave up counting.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, it's hard to keep track. Well, I think we can just start with the Black Friday sale.
Yeah. It takes place in a town called Plymouth, Massachusetts. And it's at what's the name of it? Right Mart?
Yeah.
The name of the store? Something Mart.
Which is clearly like a play on Walmart. It looks like Walmart. It's got the blue and the font and everything.
Yeah. Right. And the big thing is that you can get a free waffle iron.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and I also went into this totally blind. Like, I didn't know that it was about the Black Friday, wildness. So when I saw this, I was like, oh shit, okay, here's what it is. Like, it was a fun like moment of realization to be like, oh, this is what this movie is going to handle. Like, let's do it. So I was excited.
It's like, how's this movie not been made yet? Like, I completely agree. As soon as I realized where it was going and what the setup was, I was in. I was like, sold. Yep. How has no one made this movie yet? This is a kind of a genius idea for a slasher film.
And they did such a good job because they show the crowd outside of Right Mart before it opens. And they did such a good job of just the tension is building because people are mad, people are anxious. Just the sounds and the awfulness of the crowd. Like it really made you uncomfortable and like, oh, this is going to be bad.
Yeah. They built that tension so well.
Yep. So we enter the movie meeting the family. Patrick Dempsey is the sheriff, and it's kind of like their friend and family group, right? So we meet the people that own Rite Aid, someone that works there, and then we meet the teen daughter of the Rite Aid owners.
Jess, right?
Jess, Jess.
Yeah, Jess.
I was going to say they're hosting dinner, and then the sheriff, how we meet him is we hear this very distinct breathing as he's like walking up to their house, and then he knocks on the door, and then you come to find out, oh, it's just the sheriff. It's nothing scary, which we'll circle back to that later.
Yes. A little bit of foreshadowing there.
Right.
Yeah. I love the intro. I think they did a good job of getting the style of 80s slasher, but doing it today. I really liked it. I feel like it reminded me of, like Halloween, Scream, like the intro kind of set the scene.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
So the one guy that is like a manager at Rite Aid gets called in. He has to go because it's getting crazy down there at Right Mart. And so he goes, and then we see the Right Mart like crowd, and that's where we kind of see what's going down.
And the teenagers from dinner, they they say they're going to a movie, but really they're going to go party. But then they decide that they need to also stop at Right Mart because like one of them needs a phone or something.
Yeah.
And just the sense of just entitlement and shallowness of these teens is just disgusting. And then they go enter this crowd we were talking about where it's just so tense. And that I think is my worst nightmare.
Yes.
Oh, 100%.
Like a Black Friday crowd.
Yes.
Is like, I will jump out of a plane. I will jump off a cliff.
Yeah.
I will go scuba dive. I will do, but do not put me in a Black Friday crowd like that. That is the worst thing I can ever imagine.
Agreed.
Yeah. No, it sounds like the worst.
Yeah.
So the teen group is kind of what causes people to get really angry because Jess lets them in through the like employee entrance. And then they're all going and getting like, they're being annoying and rowdy and getting all of like the deals first, right?
Yeah, they're like taunting the people outside.
The people that are outside.
Look, we have access. You don't.
Who were they were already on edge and yelling and screaming. And then this just like pushes them over the edge.
Yeah.
I have to like interrupt and say I did make a total judgment when we met the teens. When I saw that Addison Rae was cast as one of the teens, I was like, no, never mind. I don't like this movie. Like, because I immediately was like, it's going to be poorly acted. It's going to be like cheesy, like one of those forced roles, you know, that you sometimes get. But I have to say I was wrong. She actually did a decent job. She did well with it. And it wasn't all focused on her. Like I was worried that it was going to be like centered now all around her just because they got this person to play the role. But it wasn't. So I was I was
wrong. She did a pretty good job. I'm happy with the character that she played. My only asterisk is like her character should have absolutely been killed.
100% agree.
I see no reason why she was allowed to live. Like that is my only asterisk with her character is like, did they keep her alive because she's Addison Rae?
I know.
Because 100% that character should have been killed off.
Agreed.
Full disclosure.
Oh yeah.
I have no idea who that is.
Laura had no idea who I was talking about. I dying.
Still don't. I
was like, oh my God,
TikTok.
Grandma.
I don't know what she is. Like
I was like, how do you not know?
She's very TikTok famous.
Okay.
She's kind of like the epitome of like what influencers are nowadays. Like she was like the pioneer of
Yeah. She was the first to really like blow up on TikTok.
Okay. Well, good for her. Still don't know who she is.
All right. So back to the store. They're being like super shitty teens, egging everyone on, and the crowd is just like getting so overwhelmed. Like we see them pushing the fences and you can tell like shit, it's about to go down.
Yeah. When they finally just, because I think the one guy just goes, oh, it's open. So then the crowd starts pushing.
Yeah.
When the crowd rushes and then the people are just getting crushed up against the door. And so they're trying to decide if they should open the door so they don't get crushed or like leave the door locked because clearly people are not going to behave once they're inside. Like I was so stressed watching that.
Like my palms were sweating.
Yeah.
Well, and so the sheriff, Patrick Dempsey, he's out kind of trying to help the crowd. And when they first start pushing forward too, he falls down and they almost trample him. But he did something that I don't know why this came into my feed, but I recently saw this thing where there are tips on if you are ever in a crowd, how to not get trampled.
Oh.
So first they talked about like certain ways to like position your feet so that you don't fall. But if you do, make sure do exactly what Patrick Dempsey did. Don't lay on your back or on your stomach because then your vital organs can be stepped on. Even if you put like your hands up, turn on your side, kind of like the fetal position on your side. And that way you have the best protection for your vital organs. So, so we learned something in this movie.
So he acted appropriately.
He did. Yeah. He absolutely did. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we get Patrick Dempsey as the sheriff, and then there's one security guard who stays and one security guard that runs away.
Yes.
So clearly crowd control was non-existent.
Right.
And I think one of the first injuries we get is, first Doug, the security guard.
Right.
who was trying to open the door to let people in. The whole thing just breaks, collapses on him, and he's just actively getting crushed.
Yeah, like he's just being killed.
And then the thing that set like the like, oh, okay, this is the kind of movie that we're watching for me, was the guy who is also like rushing in and then just glass to the neck.
Yes. Glass to the neck, just almost like it doesn't like almost decapitate, but it just is very obviously deep. This dude is clearly going to die from this injury.
Like he's just gushing.
But what does he do? Does he put like search for first aid? No, he grabs the waffle iron.
Grabs a waffle iron.
As he's like bleeding out.
And then he passes out and someone comes and takes his waffle from him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It was just,
this movie's so good.
Honestly, no, they did such a good job. They did such a good job with this movie.
And then like there's the guy that manages Mitch. The Wright Mart, his wife came with the sheriff. That's why the sheriff was here, because they came to bring him dinner, like a little like takeaway dinner. And so she's also there.
You can tell there's a bit of a relationship or flirtation happening.
Yeah.
Like between her and the sheriff.
Right.
And so she,
oh my God.
This is the one that almost made me vomit. So I can't even talk about it. You guys, I can't.
Okay, so
the deaths were so much in this movie.
So brutal. so she's like just trying to, I guess, survive the crowd. And then this crazed shopper with a shopping cart like plows into her. Like she falls down and they run her head over with the shopping cart, which basically scalps like
because her hair gets attached to the wheel as these two people are like going back and forth with the cart. And so you just see it like her scalp.
Yeah.
Like peeling off.
It was so brutal. You guys, like, I can't.
It was so brutal.
It was so bad.
Because then there was also, so this one didn't lead to a death, but then there was also Bobby, one of the teens that was in the car. He is going, I think actually he goes to maybe help someone.
I think so, yeah.
He's trying to help Doug, the security guard.
Okay. So as he's trying to do that, someone just steps on his hand, like and wrist, and it just, you see that the hand goes in a way,
the opposite way. Yeah.
No hand should go.
Oh.
So I think that's our first three deaths. It's the security guard, the
customer,
and then the wife.
And then Amanda, the wife. Yeah. So then so we see this like chaos ensue. And then that's when we get the title card.
Yep.
Which is just Thanksgiving in the like bloody font.
Yep.
Thanksgiving.
And then it's 1 year later.
Yep.
Which was just like, again, it's like this whole movie was just a roller coaster.
It really was.
It was. Yeah.
It really was.
They're like, all right, it's 1 year later. We learn that the family who like owns the store was not found responsible for anything.
Right.
Basically, like there was no accountability.
No security camera.
The security footage is gone. And since it's 1 year later, we're once again close to Thanksgiving and the store will be reopening for Black Friday.
Yeah.
And even though there's been no security camera footage that the police could use in an investigation, the one boyfriend.
Yeah, the one guy. I don't remember his name. One of the other teens.
One of the teens. He was like standing up and recording it on his cell phone, like live streaming. That's a big thing that happens.
I think that's Evan.
Yes.
Okay.
That sounds right.
There's a lot of characters in this movie.
There's so many. Yeah. So I only wrote down the names of the important ones.
Like I will say, actually, in the movie, it was not hard to track. Like you knew, it was like these are the teens from the group. These are the people from the Black Friday. Like it wasn't hard. It was more just after the fact, trying to think of all the deaths and all the characters. No idea half of their names. Like,
yeah. No, totally.
So with the beginning, we learn of this little tradition at the diner, which is that around this time, people always wear these John Carver masks. And they're like the crappy, like little flimsy, like plastic masks.
You mispronounced it. It's John Cava.
Cava. Okay, we do have to talk about the accents in this movie
because that was my favorite part. So Lizzie, the waitress, how she's like, "It's John Cava."
John Cava. I need someone from Boston to tell me if these are even somewhat right, because
we lived back east growing up as kids, and so we knew a lot of Bostonites, and yes, 100%.
It sounded right.
That is like a Massachusetts Bostonite accent.
Oh, totally. That is how they sound. So when we lived in New England, like Maine and New Hampshire, that's how like people who are from there, that's what they sound like.
Yep.
So they were spot on. It was amazing.
It kept taking me out of it, you know. Patrick Dempsey's Boston accent.
I could listen to it all day. It made me so happy. It just brought me so much joy.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, we get the John Cava.
John Cava. I told Brianna, I was like, I'm doing the entire podcast recording in a Boston accent, right?
I was like, don't you dare.
Oh gosh. So
I don't think people would appreciate that one.
No.
And at one point, I took a note of, I don't know if this was when Patrick Dempsey was kind of like talking to people in the town about, this upcoming Thanksgiving or the parade or something, but he was talking to the Wright Mart owner. What's his name? Mr. Wright or something?
Oh yeah, I kind of forget his name.
So let's
see. Thomas
okay.
Wright. Mm-hmm.
Thomas Wright. Okay. Mm-hmm. So his wife, who just kind of seems like this, like, full of herself, not very serious type woman. Clearly, Jess, one of the main, young kids in the movie, she doesn't like her. But she's like talking to the sheriff, and she's just holding an eggplant. Like it's like the most obviously phallic thing you could do. Right. The way she was holding it, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I always put it in my stuffing or something." Yeah. And I'm like, "Get out of here!"
Oh my gosh!
I think it's Kathleen. Let's get out of here, Kathleen.
Get out of here, Kathleen. It was so good. It was so funny.
I'm trying to look it up because, like, when this guy came on screen, I was like, "Oh my gosh, he is in something that I'm thinking of."
Who?
But I couldn't think of it, and I still can't find it. But I will.
The Wright Mart owner.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, he's definitely been,
but like a long time ago, like in the 2000, the early 2000s or something. But
okay, so
anyways,
in the movie, we then learn that for some reason they go into the John Cava house.
They're filming an ad.
Oh, that's right. That's why they're doing
the store. It's like a yearly thing. I think it's kind of what they made it sound like. Like they're doing their family ad for the store.
Yeah.
And so you discover that it's been vandalized. And like I think it's Dempsey that's like they vandalized a historical landmark. It's like, stop.
No, I could not with his accent.
Vandalize a historical landmark. Oh, okay, I'll stop. I'll try to stop.
I love it.
So they vandalized the house, and you realize too that they also took the axe that was on display in John Carver's house.
Yes.
So I think at this point, the teens all start getting tagged in a post by someone with the name John Carver on Instagram.
Yes.
So it starts with a dinner table that's been set. Right. And it's tagging all of them as the first one.
Yeah.
So I think they kind of just ignore it at the beginning as like that's weird.
Yeah. They think it's weird. Yeah. And I think the caption is, something about the table is set.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I'm getting ready for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Which is just so ominous and amazing.
Yes.
And we should say, so when the movie first started, Jess and Bobby are dating.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this guy, Ryan, who's very much into Jess. You can tell that he has a crush on her and he loves her. But since the incident where Bobby's hand got crushed, he ghosts Jess, and he is not part of the friend group anymore. He just leaves. So Ryan, who I love that all of the characters, like, they don't really, the friends don't really like him, so they all just keep referring to him as an NPC.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
That is I feel like what people say, like kids say, like so stupid.
I know.
But so he is now dating Jess.
Yes. And then I'm trying to think, I think also at the beginning we get to see the killer's lair a little bit, right? We get to see the photos of all of the teens and everything set up. We get newspaper clippings. So we know someone is preparing to do something.
Yes.
Yeah. They're mad about the massacre that happened.
Yeah. And they've like got, pictures circled, their faces circled and written out. Like, yeah.
So we know something's going on.
Yep.
Should we get into the next death?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're back at the diner.
It's my favorite character.
Lizzie is closing up shop for the day.
And did we say that Lizzie was like a real kind of asshole during, like, did we?
I don't think we've said it, but
during
she
the
was.
riot, like she was one of the ones that was up at the front, and she was a real jerk. Like, and she like got her waffle iron and left, and like just, she was kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
She's just kind of a jerk in general to people. Like, she's just pretty rude. But her accent's so cute, I can't even be mad at her for it.
It's like, you do kind of love her.
I love her so much.
I love her. But so she's closing up, and we get the shot of, I think John Carver is in the kitchen. So we see him behind a door, like through a little window.
Well, and you also see what he does before he attacks. In a lot of the deaths is he puts a mask somewhere for the person to find. So Lizzie first sees a John Carver mask that's been left on the counter. So she's like looking at the mask, and I think she maybe even like puts it up to her face. And while she's putting it up to her face, you see another person wearing a John Carver mask behind her.
Yes. Oh, so good. So that's when he pops out, attacks her with the axe, I think, right? Yeah. So they're kind of like running through the diner. Eventually, Lizzie kind of gets away and goes into the manager's office. And I loved this little scene of her just trying to unlock her phone.
Yes.
But she can't because before that.
Oh, well, yes. While they were chasing each other, one of the places they chased was the back room, and it's got the walk-in freezer. And he opens the freezer and then just sticks her to the door.
Yeah, well, and that works because before he sticks her to the door, like he had sliced her hand open or something, but before he sticks her to the door, he puts her head in the dish, like
yes, he gets her wet
sink. Yeah, so she's very wet.
Yeah, and then he sticks her face, like her cheek side face, onto the walk-in, and I like could not fucking handle her being pulled off, and her face is just peeling off and left on the walk-in door.
Like, okay, so imagine when you have a Band-Aid on your skin and you pull and it pulls the skin up.
Yeah.
And the Band-Aid peels off. Imagine that, but instead of it being a Band-Aid, it's your skin. It's your face that comes up from your flesh and then peels off.
I think I'm getting weak in my old age.
Oh, it's
not as...
This movie was not for the weak.
Made for these kind of...
So she... peels off and then runs into the manager's office.
And like and that's why she can't get her phone screen
I love that so much because it's like her hand is slashed, so the touch screen is like not working, and her face is missing a chunk, and so the Face ID doesn't work. And I love it so much.
I know.
So brilliantly brutal.
It is.
Oh, well done.
It is.
So she runs out of the office, and she manages to get outside thinking she's free. Okay, she made it, trying to get her keys out of her purse.
Something we've all been through, You're like, you leave to go, and she's like, where's my keys? Where are my fucking keys?
Yes.
Like, we could so relate.
But then we see John Carver in the car.
Yeah,
in the parking lot.
The car.
And she runs to try to hide in the trash bin.
Yeah, the dump, like the big,
the dumpster,
the metal big
like
dumpster.
the big metal bin.
And so he just
she gets in. So she's like halfway in.
Half in.
And then he just slams into the dumpster, forcing the lid to just slam down, and completely cuts her in half.
I think this was one of the parts where I screamed, like
her snap it cut in half.
Middle of
her legs are there.
Like the top half of her falls into the dumpster, the legs and butt like just fall down because
and you just see like her intestines hanging out. I was like, oh my
there was a lot of intestines in this movie.
Yeah, no, like the deaths are like over dramatic. Like they go over the top with these.
They do.
It's like blood spewing, guts out. Like they went all out with it,
but also like so well done.
Yeah,
like movie wise, like it was so realistic. Like it wasn't this like cheap gore scene. Like it was genuinely looks like that could be happening. Like
yeah. So,
and then to add insult to injury, he then takes her bottom half of her body and puts it on the sign of Right Mart, like on the little star of Right Mart. So people, that's how they discover the body.
Yeah.
And then I think he posts a picture and tags all the kids again.
Yes.
And I think I don't remember where this came up, if it was in the post that they tagged or somebody said it, but it was something about, selling everything half off.
Yes.
I think
I was like, that's hilarious.
I know.
There was a lot of comedy in this movie.
No, there really was.
Yeah.
As a total aside note, I did find out where that actor is from, and it's Hostel.
Oh,
like he was in Hostel, and that's what I was thinking of him from. So I was like, okay,
that makes sense.
Right? So I was like, that makes sense. So mystery solved.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of get on to number 2.
I know.
It's 5.
It's pretty like quick.
Yeah.
And it's
because, this is kind of like that was the first death post everything, like a year later, right? So it's kind of like, oh, that was weird. And clearly it's related to the store, but we're not quite at serial killer yet.
You're not quite sure. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. But then we meet Manny, who was the other security guard.
Yeah, the security guard that ran away. Yep.
Yeah.
And we see him in his apartment, and he's like gathering his stuff. He's packing. We see a passport. And he like says goodbye to his cat that someone's going to come watch him, but like he has to get out of here. And so he's like going to, go. And then he comes back to grab his passport as he's leaving, and it's not there.
It's gone.
Yeah.
And then he's stabbed in the gut with a turkey carver. Like, those electric turkey carvers?
Oh my God. Yeah.
I could not.
By a guy in a John Carver mask.
Yeah.
Because I think he, once again, puts the mask on like the couch or something.
Oh, yeah.
And his cat is gone.
Yeah.
And I leaned over to Laura and I was like, if they kill the cat, we're walking out.
Oh, no, same. I was like, don't you dare.
But here's the thing for me. I could kind of tell by now, this part of the movie, like by this time in the movie, I was like, this is a movie where it's horrific and awful, but there's a sense of morality here.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have a feeling.
And comedy,
comedy. I was like, I have a feeling this killer is not only not going to kill the cat, but is like going to be like go pet it or something like.
Right.
For some reason, I was like, this vibe of this movie is like humans are the worst, and so I will be murdering them ruthlessly, but I will be, of course, nice to the cute fluffy cat.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was correct.
And he was, in fact, gives the cat some food, little pets before he leaves.
This is the guy that was decapitated, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So he's decapitated.
He gets
you see him take the head.
Yeah. So John Carver gets like a rope of some sort, and he wraps it around the dude's neck and then just pulls it. And it have you ever done ceramics? You know how you use wire?
Little wire thing.
Exactly what it was.
Yeah, the ceramics thing off the pot. It's kind of like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, honestly, that's a perfect description of it.
Yep. Yeah. And then the cat like meows by his empty bowls as he's leaving, and he like goes and feeds, like refills the cat's dishes
he's
and
like, okay.
pets them.
The cat's owner's body is just like bleeding onto the floor because once Kitty's out of food, that's where he's going next.
Oh yeah,
Like, yeah.
Oh,
Well, they found the body quick.
That's true.
we
That's
realized.
true. They did. That's true.
And then we see Manny join the table.
yeah. So he's put on his plate at the
Mhm.
dinner table.
Yep.
And then
And
he posts about it.
I
and
think
everyone gets notified.
This is where you see so there's the picture, you see Manny's head on a plate and the person sitting across from him at the dinner table is Lizzie the waitress, the top half.
Her top half.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like she's sitting there getting ready to eat.
Yeah. Yeah. So at
Ruthless.
this point, people are starting to realize maybe something's going on here.
Yeah.
Related.
And it's like, oh
to the
shit.
store.
Mhm.
People are starting to get scared. And then this is where we go to the like competing school, I think is what it's supposed to be. I forget the name. It starts with an H.
Mhm.
But it's
Yeah.
like the school, which is like the
Hanover?
guy. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the guy that kind of started the right.
Mhm.
He's the one who screams that the store is open
Right.
and stuff. It's such a weird scene.
It is.
The
And-
trampoline.
Yeah.
I know.
So
It literally is like so gruesome that I was like, who thought of this?
It's
Like what? I mean, my mind goes to dark places too, man. But I
Yeah.
was like, how did somebody think this up? Like, so
Mhm.
yeah, it's the other couple.
so it's Lonnie and Amy,
Okay.
the couple. Mhm.
okay.
And they're like
so-
in the high school being cute and running around, and
Yeah.
she's in her cheerleader outfit, and
Mhm.
and then she's surprising him with something. So she
Mhm.
like leads him into the spot and tells him to sit down. And then there's the trampoline out, and she does like dirty. She's like doing
Yeah.
a risque, like striptease
Mhm.
trampoline routine.
Yeah.
Like
And then we just
yeah.
see his head get snapped.
it just
Yep. Like hands just turn it so it's like he's an owl. He's looking
Yeah,
Yes.
just fully sideways. But Amy is not looking at him.
Right.
So she's jumping on the
yeah,
trampoline.
she's turned around. And she's doing all these jumps where she jumps and then does a split onto the trampoline.
Yeah.
So the first one that she does, like she jumps up super high and she comes down, and I feel like it just goes right through her so a knife comes up
Yeah.
through the trampoline, and the way she lands on it, the knife just goes straight up through her ankle, which
Yeah.
can you imagine
Mm-hmm.
like her heel ankle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
freaking painful.
And
But
then
she's
the other
got-
one goes
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
between her legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's like got momentum, so like even
So
though
she
lands
keeps
on the knife,
bouncing.
she bounces back up because that's how trampolines work.
Yeah.
And so she's just repeatedly stabbed over
on the
and over.
trampoline.
Oh, it's so brutal.
So this was just like, yeah, how do you come up with this?
Yeah.
Why is this happening? Yeah, I feel like in a way, this one was almost the most like painful to watch because of that,
was.
like knife to the ankle. Like because you can imagine that, right?
Oh.
Like you can imagine.
So
Yeah.
that was deaths 6 and 7, I
6
think.
and 7. Yeah.
And I do want to point out, in between all of this gruesomeness, there was some, we've already talked about lots of like humor and stuff.
Mhm.
So I think before they had got to the school, there was a couple of scenes, and one line I just love. They're talking about Jess's new boyfriend Ryan and how he's a little bit creepy.
Yeah.
And they're talking about, I forget even exactly why they say it, but they go,
Mhm.
he's always the turkey in the parade. And they were so serious. Like,
They
this
were.
job
Laura and I
He
both
must
just started laughing.
always be the turkey
It's just
Like,
weird.
in the parade. But then also like all of the kids are trying to figure out who the killer could be.
Oh yeah.
And so like I think they're trying to brainstorm, could it be Ryan, who's creepy, but he's always the turkey in the parade, or could it be somebody
Because
from
of the
Hanover?
footage as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So somewhere between all of this, Jessica remembers that there is backup footage at the house because she knows that Kathleen deleted the store footage, so the
Yes.
security couldn't find it. So she goes through to try to, help solve the case, and that's where she sees Ryan, who's talking to Doug, the security guard
Yeah.
that was crushed, and they're
Mhm.
like hugging, like it seems like they're friendly. So now
Yeah.
it's like, oh, he never mentioned knowing Doug.
Right.
A little suspicious. I did want to throw in a little fun fact since we talked about the trampoline scene. So this entire movie, which I had no idea about, was based off of a fake trailer that was in Grindhouse. So if anyone hasn't seen Grindhouse, it's like a double feature of a Quentin Tarantino movie and a Robert Rodriguez movie. And this isn't even the first movie. This is the third movie to be made from a fake trailer that was shown in Grindhouse.
Oh my gosh.
So we stayed toward the end of this movie and we saw special thanks to Quentin Tarantino and somebody else who I'm guessing is
it was
Rodriguez.
Yeah, that's who it was.
So that makes sense because I was like, why would they be special thanking them? But that's why.
So Eli Roth made the fake trailer for a Thanksgiving slasher in the movie. Like this has always been his idea since 2007, or even before that. He's kind of talked about how he grew up in Massachusetts and always was like, why isn't there a Thanksgiving horror movie? It's so obvious. So he made that fake trailer. And so, since it was his idea, Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino were like, that's your idea. Like, you go for it. So, but that's why he included like a special thanks since it was their movie that it was originally in.
That makes more sense.
So in that trailer, one of the scenes that we see is that trampoline scene. We see like there's a cheerleader jumping on a trampoline who gets like stabbed through the bottom.
Okay.
And the intro title is that same font. So it's like the bloody Thanksgiving. So they took that as well.
Nice.
I guess originally they had thought about trying to make that movie, right? Where it was like the trailer showed this, let's make that movie. But it was almost too much pressure is kind of how Eli Roth described it. Because you're forced to work with scenes, right? Like the random scenes that they came up with for a movie, they'd have to include all of those. And so they decided that the way to go about it was, let's just say that movie did exist, the 1980 Thanksgiving slasher, and this is a reboot of it.
Okay.
Kind of his thought was like, this is a reboot of that movie, which is why they still included some scenes, but took a different approach to it.
Nice.
I think that's a smart way to go.
I thought it was kind of cool, but apparently he's had this idea for forever. He started writing the script in 2010.
Wow.
So it was one of those, like, they wanted to get it right. And also it's a Thanksgiving movie. It has to be released around Thanksgiving. So it's like, if you don't time it right one year, you're looking for the next year.
You gotta wait a whole year.
You gotta wait for, and then I think there was also like, it took some time to get the rights to it because technically it wasn't his movie that the trailer was in. So he had to like talk to the studio. So this was a long time coming.
Okay. Hard earned.
Well, I think well worth it.
Okay. So next we get, they don't die, but this is where two of the teens disappear.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's worth mentioning that they weren't deaths, but like, we think maybe, which is
it Gabby?
Gabby.
Oh yeah, Gabby.
Which is Addison Rae's character, and Evan.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's I talked about this earlier. I was like, Gabby should have died. You already had the like kind of popular couple with Gabby and Evan.
Right.
The trampoline scene should have been them getting killed.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yes. It seems kind of random to like go where it's like, oh, now we're at this school for this kind of weird trampoline room.
Right.
And they're dead.
I agree.
Well,
and
so what happens is they're clearly being kind of stalked, I guess, or hunted.
Oh yeah.
Her phone ends up in like a laundry cart.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So like clearly, and we find out later why, but clearly like the killer had an opportunity to kill them.
Yeah.
Right? But for some reason, these are the ones that get saved. I don't know.
I didn't love that. I think he should have killed the characters there or had them be the trampoline couple that gets killed.
Agreed.
Agreed. Anyway, so we know that the killer's at the school, gets them and tries to lure Jessica.
Yeah, Jess is also at the school. So she's there, but they separate for a minute.
Yeah.
Because they're like going to go change and then they end up disappearing.
Right.
And then Jess is there. Now being kind of hunted.
Yeah.
Yes. And this is where we get kind of like a perspective from the killer as he's going after them. And it's the same perspective as the beginning of the movie. and the person is breathing, kind of like initially Patrick Dempsey's character was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I just found notable.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. So at this point, they're like, we're 100% being hunted. There's
Right.
definitely something wrong. The cops were already at the school because they, because of what happened with the other
Right.
teens, where it was like, clearly this is all related.
Right.
So this is where we meet Yulia's dad, who
Yes.
rolls up in the G-Wagon and is like, we're leaving. And she's like, where? He's like, Florida. We're going to Florida. Get in the
he's
car.
like, go.
Honestly, kind of a good idea.
Yes.
I'm with Yulia's dad on this one.
Yes.
Well, and before that happens, when Carver is still kind of chasing Jess before she gets away, I thought that the scene where he's chasing her and she's in the school's hair salon.
Oh, yes.
It was so cool.
I loved that scene.
So like she doesn't die, so this isn't a death scene, but like she is hiding, and she kind of like is hiding in plain sight because there's all these just like the busts that hairstylists use to like practice hair on. They're just like sitting on all these counters, and she just goes and she's just very still and like makes herself look like one of the hair models.
Yes.
I loved that.
And she ends up then, I think, like spraying him with hairspray and then running to the building. So that's how she.
And then she gets to the cops.
Yeah. But I just like that scene was so fun. Just like, what
I
would
loved
you do
it
in that situation, and she's just like there trying to be so still, like a
But part of me was like, why does a high school have this?
I know, it was very strange.
Like a community college, I would understand, but like, why does a high school?
I mean, they might have like a technical program.
Yeah, like a technical,
I just had never seen
like a home ec kind of thing
before.
Hair.
Like a modern day home ec, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So then we're at Yulia's house.
Yep.
Right, with her and her dad, and they're like packing and like getting ready.
And as they were doing that, I couldn't help but notice how much I loved the fact that they had laundry room on the second floor. And I thought that's just so darn convenient.
And it was a very nice house.
It was a very nice house. And I was so jealous. I was like, man, their bedrooms are right there, and there's the laundry.
Yeah, so convenient.
Pick it up and down the stairs. This is what I'm thinking of.
And there's a cop there, right? With them?
Yeah,
because
he's like waiting outside the house.
Because Yulia's dad is like, I'm having none of this. I need a cop here. We're going to Florida. Like,
so and they're like very quickly trying. So there's the cop outside, and then they're inside, and I don't exactly remember.
So
how this plays out.
We see John Carver come in, and so here's the thing: I don't know if they die or not. I don't know if they die and it was like a silencer that John Carver uses, or if it was like just to knock them out. But we see John Carver and he shoots something at the cop. And then later, Yulia's dad.
I think it was a silencer because I think that guy looked pretty dead.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because Yulia's dad had given the cop like food.
Right.
Like, we're leaving, like, take it. So the cop was distracted. And we should say part of what he was given was corn on the cob.
Oh, yes.
With
the little,
so then I think,
pokies.
With the little pokies that go in the sides.
And we should also say they were corn shaped and had a smiley face on them.
Yes. They were adorable ones.
They were so cute.
They were really cute.
So I think it was a
so those are confirmed deaths, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this would be what, death 8?
8 and 9.
Yeah. And then we go up to Yulia in her bathroom finishing getting ready. So she's like putting contacts in and she's cleaning her ears out.
But they really focus on her putting the contacts in.
Yes.
They do.
Which really grossed me out. I don't know why, because I wear contacts and I was like, ew, stop. I was worried there was going to be like an eye.
They were so clearly trying to get us to like worry about that. Like
and I was
she was slowly putting in those contacts one at a time, and they would like zoom in. So it was like, oh God, they're going to do something with their eyes.
But no, instead she's done cleaning her ears.
And she's FaceTiming her boyfriend and Jessica while getting ready.
And she's just standing there in the mirror, and then all of a sudden behind her, the corn cob holders just go boop, right into her ears. And I love how like all of a sudden like the sound becomes like what it would sound like that high pitched ring.
Yeah.
I love that.
So they did a good job
so
with
she
that.
pulls them out, right? I mean, she's still alive. They're tiny, like the corn cob thing. So like she's still alive.
But it's super disorienting.
Oh, yeah. No, the sound was really good. I feel like that was well done.
Yeah.
So she's trying to just get out, but the killer catches up to her.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's thrown onto a spinning table saw.
Okay, I could not. You guys, I know I keep saying each one is my like worst one, but this one, it's like a table saw because their house is under construction.
Mm-hmm.
And like it was just horrifying because she just keeps being bounced back onto it.
Yeah.
It was
also Jessica and her boyfriend are there.
Oh, yes.
Because we find out the other two friends are still alive.
Right.
So I feel like this one was extra sad because it was like, oh man, like he may have just taken her alive to the table with the other two friends. But instead, because Jessica and the boyfriend tried to stop him, now she's dead.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I feel like this was one of the more sad deaths.
It was sad. It was sad.
The boyfriend's just like, what do I do? Like holding her.
because he's just holding her, being like, what do I do? Like, she's obviously dead. Like,
Oh, so sad.
Yeah, it was brutal. Mm-hmm.
So, you know, after 10 deaths, they start to really take these things seriously.
We're like, okay, we know what's up.
Like,
it's going down.
It's very obviously anyone who was at the Thanksgiving Day massacre is being targeted. So we should say at some point, like they're thinking, okay, we need to protect ourselves. So they go to the McCarty party. There's this dude who's like really creepy. His name is McCarty, and he's throwing this party.
And he's like older.
Like definitely older.
They made some comment like he's like 30 years old and still in high school or something. Yeah,
but and he looks older.
He looks older. Yeah. But he throws this party and he's selling them weapons. So
Jess and
what's the
Evan?
Evan?
No, because he lives right. So I didn't write his name down.
It's Yulia's boyfriend, I think.
Yeah, it's Yulia's boyfriend.
She was Scoobs.
Scoobs, or
she was with Scoobs at Scuba.
Oh no, yeah. So Scuba lives.
Yes.
So maybe that's
okay. So it's Jess and Scuba.
Yeah. So Scuba buys he buys a gun. And the guy McCarty is like really like, you gotta make sure to keep the safety on. Just be careful.
Yeah.
Right.
And then he also tries to sell, and I'm bringing this up because it comes into play later. He tries to sell Jess, like, he's like, oh, there's these cool, it's almost like spyware.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a belt, but if you take this part off of the buckle, it's like a switchblade. And he's like, it could come in handy. And she goes, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
But she does take the ring.
That's later. That's later.
Oh, is that later? Okay. Yeah, you're right.
So the reason why I thought of that is because now that they're taking it seriously, they decide, okay, there's the big Thanksgiving Day parade. Let's set a trap.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So originally they were thinking, oh, let's cancel it or let's not go. So they're kind of having like a family meeting. You know, everyone is like, the sheriff is there, the parents are there, Jess and Scuba. Like, they're like, we need a plan. And they're like, we'll lure him in with the parade.
Yeah.
And the plan is they'll do the parade. And then when the floats go back to the warehouse, it's going to look empty, but it's going to be full of cops who are going to wait for him to show up.
And get him.
Yeah. Kind of a solid plan. It's like, okay, that makes sense. And then that's when Jess gets the ring. Because before they get on the float, he's like, oh, it kept my dad alive.
Yeah, it was good luck in Iraq. Yeah.
And who is Mitch?
Mitch is his wife is the one who died at the beginning.
Yeah, he was like the manager.
Oh, okay.
And remember we had gotten a few like inklings that maybe Mitch was behind this because he was really like,
he's been leading protests.
Yeah, he's done protests.
Yeah.
And like, you know, super against having Right Mart open. And so and there's been a few questions of if it could be him or not.
And he's at the parade also still protesting. So and it's like putting us uncomfortable, like, oh, if it's Mitch. Like at this point we're thinking maybe it's Mitch, maybe it's Ryan. Maybe it's somebody.
Maybe it's and also Bobby has come back, right?
So Bobby.
We forgot that Bobby
came back.
Yeah, he came back, and there's a lot of like questioning of like, this is probably Bobby that's doing it. Like he's the killer.
then the parade is going on.
My God.
And then I think Ryan is clearly, for some reason, not dressed as the turkey. Somebody else is.
Yeah, it's some other kid dressed as a turkey.
And suddenly just axe to the turkey, his head just gets chopped right off.
A clown.
Yep. Yes, by the clown.
And chops off his head and then puts like smoker things.
Like a smoke
There's
bomb.
like a bunch of colored smoke bombs going off.
Yep.
So it is just
chaos.
Again, it's just so unexpected. Like the whole time they were kind of building tension because as they're on the float, you see Scuba and Jess, like every time they see someone with a John Carver mask, they kind of look as like, oh God, wait, is that him? Like, is that him?
Yep.
Like you could feel the tension and then it's like, oh no, someone just decapitated the turkey guy.
Yep. Yep.
And so like now they're coming off of the float and they're like running into the car. There's like a truck there that they're like running to. And so now the truck has, Jess, I think Scoobs, her parents, like her dad and her stepmom.
Yep. Just everyone that the killer wanted. All in one car.
All in the truck. And then he throws a smoke bomb. The clown comes and throws a smoke bomb into the front of the car and like shoots what look like tranquilizer darts into the chest of everyone in the back.
Yeah.
And gets in the car and drives off.
Before that happens, though, we get another horrible death, which is the person driving the float.
Oh my gosh, you're right. I totally forgot. I think I blacked it out.
The float is like a ship behind that he's pulling behind the car, but because he has to slam, you see the front of the ship go straight through his head.
And it was so like his nose is on the top. Like it was just so graphic.
And there's like kids in the front seat with
the
him.
Children are in the front seat.
And they're like, Grandpa.
Oh God. That one was awful.
Okay, so that's I think that's death number 12.
Yeah, I think that's 12.
Oh shit. Okay.
So the killer gets away with pretty much everyone he wanted. This worked out really nicely for him.
Yeah, definitely. And so the next scene we see is the wife, again, Kathleen. And she is laying on a table and she is clearly being basted or like, she's
basted. No, that's exactly what it is.
And like rosemary and all the typical things you'll put on a
parsley between her toes.
Yeah. Although I was thinking that's too much salt he was sprinkling
way
on
too much salt.
Too much salt.
Yeah, the pepper was fine, but the salt was too much.
Yeah, the butter, the parsley, everything was great.
Everything
The salt was too much.
And like we see that they're in this weird room where there's like this giant oven and we're like, oh, like we immediately know what's about to happen. And it's like, don't eat before you go see this film.
No. But Kathleen is awake.
Yes.
Yeah. The effects of whatever were used are wearing off. So we see her kind of like peeking as he's doing all of this. She's like peeking and then closing her eyes. And then he leaves to go get something.
Yeah.
Yeah. He sets his mask down on the oven.
Yes.
And it burns the John Carver mask, which just makes it look even creepier because it's like this half burned plastic, which must have smelled awful.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
But yeah, then he leaves to go do something and then she kind of gets up and runs away. And hides, and then he discovers she's gone, and he grabs this pitchfork, like the pitchfork that you see in that famous painting with the old couple, and the guy's holding the pitchfork,
the like American Gothic.
American Gothic, yes, thank you. It's exactly
that pitchfork.
Yes.
And as she's hiding, one of the dead bodies that had, died previously, it like falls on her. And like that gave me a good jump scare.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yes, we get like a little bit of like a chase, a little bit of like
cat
a back
and mouse
and forth.
chase.
Yeah. Because Kathleen's pretty good at hiding, we get like all these scenes of like her, like hiding behind the door and like just on the other side of the wall.
Yeah,
and,
she
like,
did a decent job.
It's a pretty solid chase that we get. But
also, I love at this point, they're all dressed as pilgrims because they were dressed as pilgrims to be in the parade. And so it's just freaking ridiculous.
Yes.
The pilgrim outfit looks a little bit more like Slutty Maid.
A little
Yeah,
bit.
it did look like
Yeah.
a slutty. She
Mhm.
was a
But-
slutty pilgrim.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, like finally she's running and he's behind her and he just throws the pitchfork and it just gets her right in the middle. Like, and then he just drags her back
Mhm.
into the room by the pitchfork. Like,
Oh, and before he does that, though, as she's trying to get away, she had opened up the fridge and she
Yes.
found a body. It could have been one of the ones we thought died. It didn't really
Right.
die. I'm not sure.
but
Yeah.
she's like alive in the
But she's
freezer.
alive, being
Yeah.
like kept chilled.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
But then, yeah, she
Then
gets
he
struck.
gets her.
And then puts her in the oven. And I
And it
couldn't watch
just-
any of that
I
scene.
think, like, as the audience, we just know what's coming. And it's
Yes.
like so nerve wracking to watch, knowing that, like, oh my God, this is actually about to happen. Like,
Mhm.
and it does. And she's screaming and he's just watching her. Like, she's
Right.
begging for her life. He opens the
Yeah.
oven at one point and she's like begging for her, you know,
Mhm.
please let me out.
Mhm.
And then we
She's
just slowly see her. Oh, because he opens the oven to put a turkey timer in her.
Yes, he puts
Yeah.
a turkey timer on her arm.
And so we
she's
just see her.
She's starting to sweat.
Oh,
And we
I
see
did-
her skin start to like.
I
bubble.
watched 0% of this,
Oh,
by the way.
okay.
So as you guys are
Really?
describing, I watched 0. I had the popcorn in front of my face
Uh
the entire time.
huh.
No, so when it first started getting a little hot and she's just sweating and it's seeming like really toasty, like I immediately was thinking of my hot yoga class.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's like, oh, this is a little bit like I do this to myself voluntarily
Right.
several times a week.
Yep.
Yeah, but no. But then the skin gets burned at a rapid increase,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden we see that she like the final burn comes, and we
Mhm.
see her die, and
Yep.
the turkey timer pops up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So again, the
hilarious.
comedy in this, like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
so appreciated, like, because it was cheesy, but like intentionally so. Like,
Yeah.
it was very fitting to the moment when there were like little moments of comedy.
Oh, yeah.
It was
No,
perfectly
was.
done.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So then dinner is ready to go.
dinner
There's
is
a-
served.
There's a live stream happening, but
Yes.
up until now, the cops haven't been able to find, like, the phone keeps turning off, so they can't track it.
Yep.
But suddenly a live stream is happening and they have the location. So they
Mhm.
are rushing to the scene of where the phone is live streaming from.
Yep.
But because it's like live streaming, okay, dinner's ready, it's turkey time. But then come to find out the phone has been set up to stream a monitor.
Yep.
So the cops thought they like found his location, but it
Really, they
wasn't.
didn't. Yeah.
Right.
And then once they find that phone, it switches to another phone.
Yep.
So it's like a news stream is now happening.
But then somehow the cops were able to determine that there were tunnels under the spot,
Yes.
and that like they have to go to the tunnels. So they're like
Because,
mapping that.
yeah,
out.
tracking it down, they're like, we're right there.
Yeah,
and
we're
I think
here.
they even see, maybe they see like a manhole cover or something where it's
Mhm.
like, oh, underground. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my God. So then dinner.
So now everyone's at the table.
Yeah.
You know, the dad, the Jess was there, the
Mhm.
other guy was there.
Cuba.
Mhm.
Um
Mhm.
and that blonde girl, I don't remember who she was there. But like they all kind of come out of their like tranquilizer state and they're waking up and they're gagged.
Yep.
And something happens and it makes the dad like throw up.
Oh,
it is-
well, he sees
Because
what's for dinner.
Oh, that's
Dinner
right. And
served.
it's his wife.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. He unveils. And then,
And-
yeah, he like throws up in his gag tie. It just is
Oh,
so like
Because it was so gross. So
So gross.
John Carver had positioned the mom as like a
As a
turkey.
turkey.
Yeah.
Like he made like her hands like kind of shriveled in like a turkey,
and
and then her
legs
head was
up.
cut off, and then her head was like off to the side. But like the way that the skin looked, it like looked exactly like, I'm sorry, y'all. Please don't listen to this right
Mhm.
before you eat Thanksgiving
Yeah.
No.
dinner, because it looked like the skin of a turkey.
It
like it looked
did.
like that bubbly brown crispy like.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's awful. It's terrible.
And then he goes and he carves a piece of her.
Oh,
Like
this
leg.
was
once again,
to eat.
saw 0% of that. I was like, I can't.
So
And it looked like an actual piece of turkey. It was horrifying.
It did, but it was like a little bit different, like a little bit like more bloodier.
Yeah.
Like it looked different enough to think like, oh my God, is this what human flesh looks like if you
Right? It was just like, oh.
And like I think right before that he had put a corkscrew in the girl that was being chilled.
Yeah, because he said I have a nice
wine glass.
Yeah,
up
he
to
goes,
it.
I have a nice chilled wine.
Yeah.
For dinner.
And then he does that, and so her blood is now in the, which made us think of pairing tonight's episode with with our drink. I think this is a great moment.
That's a really great segue.
Time to segue
to talk about what we're sipping on.
Yeah, because I need to pour more after we're talking about that scene. Holy moly.
Yeah.
So if you've seen our last year's episode, Thanksgiving, we had a nice white wine that we paired with that episode.
Mm-hmm.
So this year, because of this scene, we thought we'd pair it with a nice glass of red wine.
Yeah.
Nice bloody red for you.
A nice chilled red.
So for your chilled red, if you're not sure what to go with, we've paired it with a nice Lambrusco because, that's one of the reds you put in the fridge.
Yeah. It's a nice sweet red wine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It pairs nice with just the most graphic gore
getting through this movie
in your entire life. So we recommend drinking it with the movie because you might need a little liquid courage to 100%. Get through these scenes.
If not a shot.
Maybe a shot first.
We're doing a shot and a glass of wine for tonight's pairing.
Oh man. Okay. So back to the scene.
So at dinner, we get one more death.
Yes.
And it's John Carver's going around because he's live streaming and he takes the phone and he's asking them what they're thankful for.
Oh, yeah.
The people at the table.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts with Evan because I think he says something about like, oh, like I was inspired to do this live stream because of you, because he took the video or one of the people who took a video of the Black Friday.
Yep. Stuff. Yeah. So he's like standing behind him being like, what are you thankful for?
Yep. And he's just, I think it's just like asks for help, right? He's just like, oh God, like someone help, blah, blah. And he pushes pushes his head down on the table. And then with a meat cleaver,
a huge one, like
the biggest one you've ever seen,
meat cleaver,
just bashes his head in. And
it just over and over, and you just see his head like disintegrating before you. It is.
And then you see the live getting a ton of like likes and hearts and like comments and stuff, which is just, oh my God.
Yeah. Horrifying.
Yeah. And so his death happens too. And I would say then the person who got the corkscrew through the neck.
Yeah.
Was another death. And you know what? I did write down a clue. I almost think it was the cheerleader from the trampoline.
Yeah.
That didn't die.
Like maybe she wasn't dead.
He makes a comment. He says something. Hey, cheerleaders toast.
Oh,
so let's make a toast with the cheerleaders, like nice chilled red. So
you're totally right. It was her.
Amy was killed later.
Yeah, she's just impaled in her ankle and her.
Yep.
Which makes sense because
nether
regions. See her fully die.
Right.
So
right.
What a great way to be.
It's Amy
still living.
I think right now we're at a total of 14 deaths.
We're at 14. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
That's what I have too.
Yep.
So then, while all of this is happening, Jess realizes the ring that she's wearing
has a little
like knife
cutter
thing. Yeah, it's like spiky. Yeah.
Yep.
And so she's like sawing away because they're all held in the chairs with like rope. They're all like tied by rope. So she's like gnawing her rope away.
Yeah. So she
gives it to Scoobs.
And then gives it to Scuba.
Scuba. Why do I keep calling him Scoobs?
Scoobs. It's a nickname.
Love it.
Scuba.
Scoobs. It's all the same.
Okay, so now that they've like undone their ropes,
yes,
but they still haven't given away that they're not. We just see Carver still walking around the table. That's when he then like brings the piece of meat to the dad and is like,
I think that's
basically either you eat this or I kill you. But you and that was when they broke free, right?
Yeah.
and they just get up and
I think they like throw a chair at him or something.
Yeah.
It's they attack him in some way while like trying to get out.
Yeah. And the dad who's still alive is like run through his little gag. He's like yelling for them to like, go, run, escape. Like, and I don't remember exactly how it.
They kind of just chase him through the tunnels and then they get out and they realize they're at the house.
Yes.
That we had seen at the beginning. The like historical house.
Yes.
And when they get outside, they run in, they see a cop car.
Yes.
Right?
But Scuba gets hit with the axe.
Yes. So before they get out,
yeah.
Scuba gets hit.
Yeah.
And
so Jess keeps going.
And then, she sees the cop car and she approaches it and the sheriff is there lying in a pool of blood. And, you know.
And this is when I was like, oh no, I'm wrong. Because this whole time I've been thinking it's the sheriff.
Yeah.
Oh, you were thinking that
the whole time.
The whole time.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Especially ever since the breathing. And then and then I was like, oh shoot, I guess I'm wrong. I guess it's not the sheriff.
Well, see, and then I had a moment where like they were panned, the camera was panned up close to him, and I saw him breathing a little, and I was like, okay, so either he's not dead, and I was like, but maybe that was just like a film.
Oh, like he messed up.
Like maybe that was just like a little oops.
Yeah, Dempsey would never.
He is a professional,
right? So Jess is like, okay, so then she runs more,
and I felt like that was just like kind of a classic.
Yeah,
like, her running through the woods and stuff was just like a classic horror movie chase scene.
Yeah,
which was great.
Well, but then she goes in the warehouse, right? Because after she comes across the cop car, isn't it like right outside?
Okay, so you know what it was? Yeah, it was Woods, cop car, then the warehouse.
Yeah.
So when she was in the woods initially, she jumps over a chain link fence.
Yep.
Yes.
And he almost gets her.
He almost got her. Yes.
Okay. So then she goes and looks into the warehouse, and that's when she sees Bobby.
She sees Bobby take off the John Carver mask. Oh, it's Bobby, everyone.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, shit, it's him.
Well, and then I was thinking it's multiple people. It's Bobby and the cop.
Yeah. See, for some reason there, I was like, it's not Bobby. Like something I was like, absolutely not. It's anyone but him. Like,
but then like, okay, so then it's kind of like all over wrapping up because
now lots of cops are there.
Yeah.
And because the sheriff wakes up and walks in and you know, he's kind of like, oh, like we knew it was him. Like you go wait outside. I'll take care of him. And we hear gunshots.
Yes.
Yeah, we hear gunshots from inside.
And then Jess and the sheriff are left kind of in an office in the warehouse.
Well, before they're by themselves, like because it's all kind of wrapped up. Like it was Bobby. Bobby's now dead. Oh, so I guess Bobby would be 15 then.
But he wasn't dead.
Oh, he wasn't dead.
Right.
Okay,
because they were like, well, no, so everyone is looking for him though.
Oh, okay.
So he says like he didn't get him, but everyone's looking for him.
But because it kind of seems like at least this part of the, you know, for Jess, I guess anyway, this part's over. They're also telling the sheriff, hey, because you fired your gun, you have to turn in your service weapon. And there was just a weird vibe.
There was a weird vibe.
There was a very weird vibe there.
Yeah. But he's like, okay, and hands it over.
Yeah. So with that, I thought, oh, they're going to be in danger and he's not going to have his gun. Like that's
what I thought.
Yeah. No, I thought he's uncomfortable because he didn't fire this gun. He fired a different, I just knew.
Okay. You were still on him being.
But then Jess ends up
she sees his shoes.
That's right. Okay.
Which have a bunch of the same plants from
that she does on her pants.
Yeah. That she was like, taking off. Because she had a bunch of them.
Yeah. So, and we should say a while back, the sheriff had mentioned to Jess, you know, it's the little details because back when John Carver was like kind of hunting her down in the hair salon at the high school, he was saying like, it's the little details.
Even because she couldn't remember anything about him.
He was like anything tiny. And she looks down and she like kind of remembers him saying that as she sees the little burrs that are stuck to his pants. And she realizes
Yes. And we should note there were evidence bags in here of like all the things. Yep. One of them was the cell phone that had been streaming and a couple of other little things. But yeah, this was the moment where right when they were just sitting down at the desk and I was like, oh my God, it's him.
Yeah.
I was like, it's totally him. Like I leaned over to Laura.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, now she's noticing that his boots have those little, you know, burrs.
I only know it's burrs because my friend's dog gets them stuck in his fur all the time because he likes to go run out in the weeds in Montana and get little burrs stuck to him.
Oh, poor buddy.
And then sometimes I go out with him and I get the burrs stuck to my
get
hand.
burrs.
So he's like at the door about to leave and she's at the desk and she kind of freezes.
And he then realizes that she knows.
He sees it. Yeah.
So he like starts to like, you know, talk about.
He's confessing.
Yeah. He's confessing. And she's like backing away, knocking stuff over, like trying to put a little distance, but it's very slow.
And he admits like, you know, I drugged Bobby and put the mask on to kind of frame him. And he talks about how the woman killed in the massacre, that she was going to leave her husband.
Yep.
She was going to leave
in the very beginning.
Yep.
And she was pregnant with his baby.
Yeah.
And this scene of just the way she catches him and he catches her catching him and then his confession, and it just made me so happy. It was just so well done and crafted and cheesy, but like in a just a good movie way.
Exactly.
It just made me so happy.
Totally.
Yeah. So then after all this, she says, "Oh, you never let me say what I was thankful for." And that's when she pulls out the cell phone. She's like, how good the reception is in here.
It's like, oh shit.
I literally wrote down the next things on my notes were, oh shit. Yes, Bobby, get the fuck out.
Yes, because now we realize Bobby was there. Bobby's there. I think he throws something through the window to kind of stop him. And that's where Bobby and Jessica are trying to run away.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a chase. They run away. They find Bobby's truck.
And did we clarify that she's been live streaming? Did we say that? And I just wasn't paying attention.
I think we said yes. Right? Yeah, because she's thankful for the reception, which got everything.
Yep. Okay, so I just didn't remember if we clarified that she's live streaming, so everyone knows.
So everyone knows it was him. Yeah,
right.
So they have this little chase. You know, they're getting away in the truck. He needs to stop them by because the truck is like a tow truck. He ties the trailer hitch thing. So there's it's a pretty solid chase at the end,
it is.
I think.
Oh, totally. And then while they're chasing, going through the warehouse, at some point they're trying to run away. And Jessica kind of pauses and she's not sticking with Bobby to run away because she pauses to start to inflate this giant turkey.
Yeah. And turn the gas.
Turn the gas on, and inflate it. And yeah, so the sheriff's just going, chasing after them. And I just love that he's just screaming, Jessica!
His voice.
It's so good.
His voice in the end there.
Yeah.
Was so good. The way that he screams her name.
Yeah.
I
loved it. I absolutely loved it.
He also says, as he's hunting them down, the famous line, which will now become a famous line from this movie: "There will be no leftovers."
So good.
It was perfect.
Good.
It was perfect.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, it's so good. So as Jessica's in the truck, she finds an old what are they called?
A musket.
A musket. There we go.
Because she had told a story about the only gun she's ever fired before is a musket.
Yes.
And muskets, the thing about them is they ignite. A lot of times it's not like guns now.
Right.
They're a lot more dangerous and combustible, I guess.
And yeah, so all the while their truck is now stopped because the hose on the tow truck is he tied it down to something. So they're frozen, and we just see this giant inflatable turkey. And you guys, it's one of those like ridiculous happy turkeys.
Yes,
and it's
so
like
absurd.
freaking huge. It's like 20 feet or something.
It's like a 2-story building. Like,
yes.
It's
and
so big.
so just all the while this thing is blowing up, and
we see
running
John
around
Carver
it.
running around the side trying to get him. Jessica.
Yep.
And so she's now filled the musket, and she aims it, and she shoots it at the turkey.
Yep.
And
so we get just a giant explosion.
Huge explosion, and they're able to drive off because it's now been disconnected. Yeah.
But we don't see the body.
No, we don't.
We don't. They even
see him on fire a little bit.
We see him on fire.
We see him aflame, but no body.
They even say, like, they kind of show them investigating, like, after it happened, and they found nothing but ash, but no one could have possibly survived that type of explosion.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But then as they're saying that, they kind of turn to a firefighter holding an axe with like a full face mask on, like slowly walking away.
So I didn't catch that part.
Yeah. He's like holding an axe, and he has like the big mask on.
So it almost seems like they're like
walks out.
Setting it up.
Well,
I feel like they were very heavily insinuating that
they have to do another one.
Die.
Yep. And then it was end credits.
Yes.
Amazing.
It was so good.
And then we do get a little bonus scene.
Yep.
I think.
Yeah, because we stayed through the credits.
Yes.
But I don't think it was really even part of the movie. To me, it seemed like it was almost just like a blooper or something. Like, what was that? Because it was.
Oh yeah, it wasn't part of the movie. It was just like a funny added scene. So it was the scene where like the dad of the Reitmar and Jess were at the house.
Yeah.
And it just like pans out, and he like flips off the camera.
Yeah.
So it's just like a funny little.
Yeah.
I didn't really
before that, because I forget if it was like post credits or not. We also get Jess having like a nightmare.
Oh yeah.
Because we get the scene of her, and she wakes up because her closet door opens, and she goes to check it out and sees that there's nothing, right? Turns on the light, realizes there's nothing, turns off the light. And then we see a burnt Patrick Dempsey come out and like grab her, which is when she wakes up and realizes it was a nightmare. Yep. So I feel like that was another nod at like, maybe he's still out there.
Totally.
For sure.
Which I would love. I'm here for it if that's the case.
It was so good. Honestly, it was so fun.
I know.
It was so fun to watch. Yeah.
I agree.
It was amazing.
I agree.
So do you have Psych?
Oh, I've got some Psych.
Okay, well, I feel like now's a good time to maybe dive into some Psych.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, just remember, she's not a real doctor, but these are not real turkeys. So it's okay.
Real turkeys. But you know what is real is Black Friday madness. And that's what we'll be psychoanalyzing today.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Love this. So ready.
Yes.
So this is a multiple parter that this is the only psych topic we're talking about today, but in multiple ways. So first, Black Friday. Let's just talk about this. Who does it? Who does not? Listeners, let us know. I myself have done Black Friday shopping in the past. I now refuse and will never, ever do it.
Yeah.
Do either of you do Black Friday?
No. I do like online.
Yeah, like I used like back in the heyday, and I'm talking like when I was a child.
Yeah.
I remember we would sometimes do that. Like we would sit around after, like we would go to my aunt's house for pie, and then after like all the people that wanted to would like clip coupons, because you need coupons for Black Friday. Yes. That's my only memory of Black Friday shopping. Otherwise I just don't, like, I have no desire. And again, like maybe part of that is like I'm privileged that my gifts aren't dependent on being on sale.
Yeah.
Like I have enough funds that I don't have to worry about that. So I get that. But like I just think nothing is worth
that.
Have
either of you worked Black Friday?
Yeah, so I had to work at a grocery store once for Black Friday, which I know like is not as much affected. It wasn't like a other, kind of retailer, but it was still crazy. Yeah.
Okay.
I worked at a famous bookstore on Black Friday, but we were so overly staffed that it was busy, but it was not horrendous.
Yeah. Okay.
It was not that bad. So yeah.
Yeah. No, it sounds awful. I mean, because I didn't have to work it because I did fast food for like my first jobs, which luckily never did Black Friday. But Matt did work a Black Friday at a big store.
Yes.
And it sounds awful.
A clothing store.
Yeah. It is.
I just remember that.
The work.
I was worried for him.
Well, because he worked, I swear that the first year that it was like Black Friday starts at 5 p.m. on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Right.
That was a new thing that happened in our lifetime. It didn't used to be like that. Like,
no, now I feel like Black Friday is on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Like genuinely, I feel like it is.
I feel like it's finally gone more
calming
reasonable.
Down again.
Like calming down. But yeah, this movie is just like a couple years too late because that weird few years where Black Friday started at like earlier and earlier and earlier every year was
wild.
Yep.
Yeah. No, thank you.
So let's just talk about Black Friday and deals and why do people fall for it. So there's a few psychological things that happen to entice people to participate in Black Friday. So one is FOMO. I've had it.
Oh yeah.
I think everyone's had it. You fear of missing out on the deal. So people tend to regret actions, like their own actions that lead to bad outcomes. They regret that. So like say you take action, if I'm going to stay home this year and then you miss out on a deal or you don't get the thing because now it's no longer available, you might regret that. And you also just regret the things you don't do typically. Yeah. So like say you decide to like not go to a party or not take that vacation. A lot of times it's the thing that you don't do. That's the thing you focus on regretting rather than I regret that I stayed home or something like that.
Yeah.
So FOMO is a one factor. The next is social media. That plays a huge part in it now. And it played a huge part in this movie.
Yeah.
But on social media, you see people, they got a good deal and they look so happy. So I must need it too.
Yeah. Got to get the waffle iron.
Exactly. Everyone else is so happy with their waffle iron. Look at their waffles they're making.
Yeah.
It's improved their marriage. It's improved their life. Like, got to get it.
Right.
Another tactic that entices people to Black Friday shop is following the crowd. So I don't know if you've ever seen where if you're like looking at something and some stat pops up of 200 people are also looking at this item or 40 people have already bought this or things like that. That is just a pure marketing tactic to have you think other people are doing it. I should be doing it too. Like, why wouldn't I do it if it's good enough for them? Like, I should be doing it too.
Yeah. And guys never believe it. It's never true.
I know.
It's usually not
all
true.
an illusion.
Yeah.
So that also goes along with the next reason is scarcity. So stores will make something seem like it's
first 100 people.
Yeah. And this can be multiple ways. One is time. So it's only Black Friday. So the only time you're ever going to get this TV for $200 off is on Black Friday. This is the only time you get that. Or there's only 1,000 TVs that get this $200 off and then they're gone. So either time or number of items. It creates the sense of urgency. If you don't do it now, you're going to miss out. So you better do it.
Yeah.
So you might buy something you never would because it's like, oh, well, but if I wait to decide that I want it, it's going to be gone and then I can't have it. So this thing I never wanted before, if I can't have it tomorrow, I better get it now.
Gotta get it.
Yeah.
So there is one study that I was reading that showed that the highest levels of FOMO that we were talking about happen either at the end of the day or the end of the week. So kind of as you've spent, your mental energy and time throughout the day or throughout the week, toward the end, that's the highest rate of experiencing FOMO. So Black Friday is like perfectly situated at the end of the week and at the end of a holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's some brain chemistry. Whoa. Yeah. Brain chemistry that happens.
Yeah.
So I'm a little sick. So I'm trying to like
you're doing
read
great.
and like sniffle at the same time.
You're doing great.
So for the brain chemistry, when you get a good deal, it's this rush of dopamine, which I've experienced.
Oh, who hasn't? Yeah.
Like if you get something and you spend way less than you were expecting to have to pay, or it feels good.
Yeah.
Even trigger words like sale, savings, those can trigger a dopamine rush because that makes you primed for experience when you get.
I mean, who doesn't love a good deal? I'm absolutely one of those people where like, if you compliment something that I'm wearing, I'm immediately like, oh my God, thanks, it was $7.
Yes. Yes.
Exactly.
I love thrifting. So I have to tell you how good of a deal it was.
Yep. Oh, totally. Totally. So there's a reward center of your brain that when you get those deals, it lights up. So it's a physical chemical thing that happens. It's not just all in our heads, for lack of a better word.
Right.
It's a real thing that changes in our brain. The problem, though, is when those dopamine rushes go unchecked and they're not balanced out with, normal pacing or other chemicals like serotonin, it can lead to really unhealthy behaviors and addictions. So shopping addictions, gambling addictions, when you're constantly getting that dopamine, but it's at an unrealistic pace, it can be dangerous.
Yeah.
And that happens with Black Friday deals.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Another thing that can happen is there's actually a term for it, and it's called shopping momentum.
What?
Which is what I kind of refer to as like, you can't have just one.
Yeah.
So you can't have just one purchase, because one purchase where you get a good deal, it creates the psychological impulse that you need another one. And then you need another one. And then you need another one. And you you have to keep getting them in order to maintain what initially you got from just one purchase.
Okay.
It's very much an addiction.
Yeah.
Thing that can happen. So deals, when you get a deal, we've all talked about like we like them, and you know that you boast about your $7 shirt. There's the reason why is because it gives us this sense of empowerment. Yeah. So we feel empowered. It actually boosts our self-esteem. And one of the reasons why is it's like, okay, look, I got this wonderful thing, and look how awesome I am that I paid, less than Joe Schmo over here paid for the exact same thing. I'm smarter. I'm more capable. I'm more, competent in my shopping skills.
Yeah.
It's really kind of interesting. It's like this competition almost that we like create in our own brains.
Yeah.
So, in Black Friday shopping, the color red is used a lot.
Yes.
Which we talked about in Crimson Peak. We talked about the kind of the psychology of the color red.
Yeah.
It gets our attention.
Yeah.
So it gets our attention, and it puts us in this heightened state of arousal, which then that.
Yeah, those bright red sales signs.
I mean, sale signs are always
They're always red.
Yeah. Always.
Yeah. It's like red on yellow, with like the yellow thing in the background. Yeah.
So just to get our attention and to get us like interested and excited, which we talked about a lot of that in Crimson Peak.
Yeah.
So one of the theories as to why people get so into Black Friday is it is a distraction from our normal, stressful, miserable lives.
I mean, not wrong. Yeah.
Right.
If it's like, oh, I have one goal and it's to get a $100 TV. It's like, I don't know, like that's achievable,
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Like I can't control anything else about the crap happening to me, but I can get a deal.
Exactly.
I can get that waffle iron for free.
Exactly.
Gosh, dang it.
Yeah.
And there's two different types of people and reasons for why this works. So there are the task-oriented people, and Black Friday is good for them because they get to accomplish so much shopping at one time, or they get to save so much. They get to check it off their like,
I'm going to buy everyone's Christmas gift right now.
Yep. Yeah. So they're totally primed for Black Friday.
Yeah.
But there's also the socially oriented people And they get to join the crowd and they get to experience that crowd high of everyone's getting the deals with me. Now, that's not me. But there are people where, so I used to have this friend, I worked with her back in Rochester, and she just seems like the most kind of like level-headed, easygoing person.
Yeah.
Wonderful woman, love her dearly. She was a Black Friday nut, and I never understood it. But she, for her, it was a ritual. So she would get her daughters, they would go to Starbucks, they would start at 4 a.m, and it was the best day for them. And whenever I talked to her about it, though, she never once mentioned a price or a deal that she got. She always talked about the experience of her and her daughter, which I thought was like, oh, that's totally her. She's a socially person.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, honestly, that's the thing. When it was like, oh, everyone wake up at like 4 a.m. to go get a $50 50-inch TV. It's like, okay, yeah, that's kind of fun.
Yeah. Right.
The whole it starts at 5 p.m. thing is, I think,
they've ruined it.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So that's just kind of how the deals of Black Friday plays into our psychology.
Yeah.
But now let's get a little bit into some of the misbehavior that happens with Black Friday.
Yes.
So there's actually been a few like really in-depth studies on this that I was kind of looking at. And one of the type of shoppers who are likely to misbehave on Black Friday are shoppers who they have perceived that they've put in a lot of effort in planning for and shopping. So they're the ones that if they put a lot of effort into it, they're going to be more likely to misbehave.
Yeah, because they're like, well, I deserve this.
Yeah,
exactly.
I worked for it.
I didn't do all that work just to not get it.
I deserve it because I've put in all this time. Also, those that tend to get into trouble on Black Friday, they tend to be, they score higher on the trait of impulsivity. So even though they're the people that have done a lot of planning, like in the moment, if they tend to be more impulsive, they're going to be, more likely to engage in problematic behavior, I'll say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I was looking at this general aggression model or the GAM. And so this is it takes into account social, cognitive, personality, your development, your biology, all of those things, they impact your aggression.
Yeah.
So it kind of gets us at your personal and your situational factors. They influence how you think, how you feel, like your arousal level. But that in turn then affects how you kind of appraise, how you judge a situation, and then how you decide on things. And that then leads to how aggressive or non-aggressive you'll be in a situation.
Yeah.
So, and each cycle of all of these factors kind of develops this like aggression learning that you'll do. So, like, how quick are you going to learn, hey, aggression works in this situation, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So that all kind of like primes you for it. But then within the GAM or the GAM, there's these ideas of why people kind of act poorly. It's if they have a goal blockage versus attainment.
Yeah.
So blockages in Black Friday would be things like they're out of stock or you have to wait in line. And those things lead to higher negative emotions, which is again going to kind of feed into that cycle and then lead to possibly higher aggression.
Yeah.
So between the two of those, going to buy something and having it being out of stock or having to wait in line, which is worse for you?
Having it be out of stock or having to wait in line? I guess out of stock. I'll wait in line.
Brianna?
I think almost waiting in line would be worse for me.
Oh, okay.
Like if they're out of stock, it's like, okay, move on.
Yeah. Oh, true.
But waiting in line, I'd be so anxious about like, well, what if it's not there and I've wasted all this time waiting? And
yes.
The other people are like annoying me, and like I think it would make my anxiety higher. Yeah.
So I actually do get a bit of line anxiety sometimes, and it's more like not that I don't want to have to wait, but I feel trapped.
Yeah.
And actually, between the two of those, waiting in line led to, in this one study, higher intensity of negative emotion. It was worse for waiting in line.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because you're all there, right? And,
right.
It's time to get angrier. Yeah.
Well, and one of the biggest reasons why is it leads to this perceived inequality. Like, I had to wait in line and I didn't get, like, they got it and I didn't get it, but I waited in line. And having that perceived inequality is actually the biggest indicator that you're going to be a shit on Black Friday.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which is really interesting because the whole point of Black Friday is you're trying to get a deal to kind of like one up everybody who didn't get a deal. It's like, it's almost the mindset of, oh, I'm okay with inequality as long as I'm the one that
I get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is just America.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah.
So that's like a blockage versus attainment would be something like you get that doorbuster, like you're one of the first 100 people in the door and you get that thing and it leads to the positive emotion. It's like a euphoric thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And also previous experience can lead to your likelihood of being a shit on Black Friday.
Oh, okay.
So what's interesting though, is prior experience of being a Black Friday shopper does lead you to have the expectation of getting deals.
Because you've done it before.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm a pro. Yeah.
But humans are fascinating creatures because even though prior Black Friday shoppers expect deals, prior Black Friday shoppers who've been there, done there, know it, they don't expect poor customer service.
Now that's fascinating.
Even though they know that's a thing, they still expect customer service to be just as good as it is on non-Black Friday.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because again, it's that kind of perceived inequality, and I want things.
Entitlement.
It's entitlement.
Yes.
It's exactly like the kids in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Right. But for a lot of people, it almost becomes this ritual, this Black Friday shopping. It's very ritualistic, and it's like a thing that they definitely do.
Yeah.
So another thing that happens is something we've talked about before in our climax episode is that idea of mob mentality.
Yes.
So when we talked about that before, we kind of talked about how when you're in a group, you feel less individual responsibility. There's actually a very specific type when it comes to kind of like Black Friday shopping of mob mentality. It's called acquisitive mob or crowd psychology, which is basically many people fighting over limited resources.
Yeah.
So when that happens with this mob mentality in this situation, if you witness other people being out of control, you might be influenced to do the same thing when normally you wouldn't.
Yeah.
That whole anonymity, the group unity, and just the heightened arousal of being in that situation, it can weaken like your own personal kind of modulation and control.
Yeah.
So it's all a perfect disaster for leading to people doing some shitty stuff.
Yeah, it really is.
So there are some things you can do to overcome it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, stores could spread out the shopping experience over a long period of time. So it's not just Black Friday, make it a week and the deals are going to be there.
Yeah.
Or kind of pace out the release of the items. So the time the item scarcity is not a thing.
Yeah.
Again, they don't want to do that because they want people to, but this is what they could do.
Yeah. Yeah.
They could do things to kind of just make the experience better. So like we talked about, people expect the deals, but they don't expect bad customer service. Put more customer service in.
Yeah.
Put little treats or little things to kind of make people calm along the way. Calm music, little like incentives, like, oh, hey, while you're waiting in line, here's a breath mint. Like tiny little things like that can go a long way.
Yeah.
So that's what stores could do. As a shopper, some recommendations I found were decide what you need ahead of time. If you're going to engage in Black Friday, decide what you need ahead of time. So that you kind of have like a goal and a mission and aren't sucked into these like, oh, wait, I didn't want a waffle iron. In fact, I already have a waffle iron, but
I'm going to get this free one.
Free, right. Also, see if the sale is really a deal or not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's usually not.
Usually not.
It's usually not.
Yeah,
in fact, I
right.
feel like there was even a study, and I don't quote me on this, but where Black Friday sales are actually not unique in that the same items have a similar price multiple times throughout the year.
Right.
Yeah, because they'll raise the price before Black Friday.
Just to bring it down.
To bring it down. And honestly, there's so many websites that you can use that like tracks that. So you can see like previous prices to see if you're actually getting a good deal.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, just understanding kind of some of these factors of mob mentality that we've discussed is helpful so that you don't get sucked into it and you realize, hey, I would never normally like trample somebody if I was not in this crowd situation. And I realize I'm in a crowd. So like, let's back away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then really just, if you're able, shop at other times.
Yeah.
Maybe not the Black Friday. Maybe not going into it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, there's some psych on Black Friday.
Nice. I love it.
Took place.
I think every American should listen to this.
Yeah.
So as to not participate in Black Friday, but also to give you a gift in time for the holidays, on Tuesday we will be announcing a special merch item.
Yes.
Yes, we will.
So head to our Instagram for all of the details this coming Tuesday.
Yes.
I'm so excited. You guys are going to love them. They're so cute.
Oh, well, that was a very good psych segment.
Yeah. That was a good dive.
'Tis the season.
Do we have a This Time in History? If you want a This Time in History, open up a newspaper.
Yeah, newspaper. What's a newspaper, Grandma?
Read a book.
Yeah, read a book. Read a book.
For our listeners, I told Laura to go read a book.
It was really rude. It was so savage.
Good thing I love you.
Do we still have it?
Because I love you.
We've got to have that on film somewhere, right? Like,
I think we were just talking.
We were just talking.
Damn
it!
Hanging
out.
Yeah,
because that would have been amazing.
It would have been so good.
Read a book. Okay, well. Here on Spooky Sips, we don't give stars, we give sips. And I know for one, I will be giving it a lot of sips. So I'm interested to hear, how many sips do you guys give it?
Oh, okay. Wait, real quick. Before we get to the sips, I had one more question, which was, how could Patrick Dempsey be the only killer? Were we supposed to accept that there was only one killer?
Okay, I was going to ask the same thing because the scene in the high school is the one that got me.
Yeah.
They're like, he would have just had to kill them and then suddenly be outside.
He's fast, guys.
Like he was like talking. We keep getting shots of him talking to people.
So for me, for my thinking too, the only time I thought it's a stretch for some of them, like he had to be super fast, like run out, lay in the ground, and like pretend to be, hit when he was like outside the cop car. I thought they were probable, if not a little unlikely.
Yeah.
But for the one that got me was the parade. Was that supposed to be him on all those deaths? Because I was like, all of a sudden there's 4 killers. Like,
I feel like there had to be multiple.
Well, that's why, because I did for a minute think it was both Bobby and him. Like, I was like, oh shit, it's both of them.
Yeah.
It wasn't. So like, I don't know.
Maybe I feel like we were supposed to conclude that he was the killer.
Yeah.
Yes.
But and I think looking back, there's no way. Right?
Honestly, I think I would have to watch it again knowing.
Yeah, I think
I would need a rewatch because it's so hard to recall.
Yeah.
I feel like he was the only one, but
okay. Well, I think there should have been another killer then, because I feel like there were a couple, especially the high school one was the obvious, like, okay, well, we got shots of him being outside. So he was like slowly following Jessica while also talking outside.
Right.
And there were a couple where it was like, I don't know, that was
questionable.
That was a little close.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my only thing I wanted to bring up.
Fair.
That's a good thing. So I will consider that when I give my rating, because I do feel like there are some things that were a little unbelievable.
Yeah.
But also, I loved this movie so much. I felt like it totally sucked me in. I felt like it was and I have a friend whose favorite movie is Scream, and this is no offense to Scream, but it was like Scream, but for me, just a little even better.
Yeah, I kind of get that.
And so I really enjoyed the ride this movie took us on. I enjoyed the acting, as silly as it was. I enjoyed the accents. I enjoyed the gore. For me, it's a 4.
Wow. Okay.
I really liked this movie. I was so the entire time watching this movie, even though it was disgusting. I loved it.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Brianna, do you have your score?
Yeah, so I think for me, it's hard because I'm debating my score between a 4 and a 4.5 because I'll be honest, I loved this movie. And I think for me, like I've gotten to a place where I try to like just suspend disbelief and not let like the little plot holes get to me. But like I haven't seen a slasher movie that like captured all of this, the comedy, the gore, the jump scares, the plot, like this well since Scream. Like because I also love Scream.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I might go with a 4.5.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think we were all thinking kind of similar. I think for me, it's a 4. I think part of it was like low expectations lead to great things because I thought I was going to hate this movie.
Same.
And then from the start, I was like, oh no, I'm going to love this movie. And they nailed the, when you think of slasher, you think like 80s, like 80s horror slasher. I think they nailed giving us a classic, quote unquote, teen slasher, but doing it in a different way. Like I do think it wasn't just trying to do what they were doing in the 80s. It was doing it, but for today.
Okay.
And it gave us the teen vibe, but it also gave space for the adults in the movie.
Exactly. Like it wasn't just a teen.
No.
I love I agree. Yeah.
That's what it's like I put it like in quotes because it was almost that, but it did it in a different way that actually was really interesting. Like it was just a solid, fun, a little gory, which is why I won't give it the extra 0.5 because I don't love gore. I had to keep looking away. But I think it's a 4. It's fun.
Right.
Yeah. Nice. So next time on Spooky Sips, we will be doing Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, I'm so excited. It's such a good one.
I'm excited to talk about this one. So if you haven't seen it, Laura, you haven't. So
I have not.
If you haven't seen it, get watching and get sipping. And we'll see you next time on Spooky Sips.
Bye.
Bye.
I was about to just leave.
Okay, goodbye.
We're out. Bye.
Stand up.
I love it.
I'm done.
Peace out.
Hang up.
I love it. We're done here. Oh my gosh.
Thank you for listening to Spooky Sips. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening. To stay up to date on all the spooky things we're up to, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at SpookySips_podcast. And if you want to help support the podcast, consider buying us a coffee, or really a cocktail. We are completely independent, so every little bit goes a long way to keeping our podcast running and improving. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.